Good afternoon, everybody. This is the T.R.I.P Podcast, the Toledo Real Estate Investing Podcast, and today I have a very, very special guest here, somebody that I've known since I've started in the real estate industry. It's Don Newman. How are you, Don?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So Don is a local investor here, and also somebody that was the owner of Greater Metropolitan Title, which is a title company that I personally use and that I send all my deals over to. So I'm really excited for this interview to dive deep into not just what we always talk about, which is buying deals and rentals, flips, all that type of stuff, but also diving deep into the title side, and then also the networking side, because Don also hosts a local meetup here as well. So Don, I want to ask you, let's take all the way back here. How did you get started in real estate?
It's funny because I have to go back to probably right after high school. I was always interested in real estate. I even took real estate classes when all you had to take was 2 courses, which was law and procedures or something like that.
Okay.
But then I decided I'm just going to go to college. So I didn't even go take my real estate license, which I probably should have. But I did go to college for 4 years. So after that, I got into business for myself. But it wasn't so much in the real estate business. It was I owned a decorating company where we did large commercial projects. Like I put vertical blinds in the entire Owens Corning fiberglass tower.
Really?
Which was 28 stories of vertical blinds. And that's the kind of work we did. But I always still had an interest in real estate. And my wife and I moved, I think, 13 different times in our first 25 years of marriage. So we were always looking for nicer and better real estate. Well, then in 1992, I sold my decorating company. I moved to Atlanta, Georgia for about 6 months and then came back. Didn't like Atlanta, so we came back to Toledo and I started working for a title company called Northwest Title. And after I started at Northwest Title, I think it was about 1996, I attended my first real estate investor meeting. I thought this is a great way for me to meet people who are buying real estate, but they need to use title services. What I didn't realize is I got so caught up in the real estate investing that I started wanting to buy real estate for myself. I think I was 45 years old, still working for the title company. And I think one of my employees said, "I'm sick of my duplex. I'd like to get rid of it." I thought, maybe this is an opportunity. So I bought my first duplex over on North Lockwood here in North Toledo.
Oh, yeah.
And then so I have a long way to get to where I started with real estate investing, but that was pretty exciting for me.
And so take me through that first transaction. How did it go? I mean, I can only speak for myself. I mean, the first transaction is usually the most nerve-wracking one. So talk to me about that story.
And truthfully, I think that I tell people now, break the ice. As soon as you break the ice, you don't want to stop. You buy your first real estate, and truthfully, the first one is the hardest. Because you've got to have the guts to do it. You've got to be able to come up with the financing. It can be a struggle for the very first one, but once you do it, and the younger you are when you do it, the better. Because I sit back now, I've got 40 properties, I'm 63 years old. I think if I would have started at 25, I would have 10 times the amount of properties that I have now. I truly believe that you've got to break the ice and you've got to stick your neck out and you've got to buy your first one. I think I borrowed $3,000 from my dad buy the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really what got it started for me.
And just out of curiosity, what was the purchase price for that duplex on Lockwood back
I
then?
paid $50,000 for it. I still have it. I think it praised. I paid off my personal residence and put a small loan on my commercial rental properties. And it praised for 125.
Yeah.
So in that short time, basically 15 years, maybe more than double.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's crazy how
And of course, you collect rent on it for years too. I mean, you collect rent every month. So
yeah,
it's just an unbelievable business to be in.
Absolutely. And so, okay, so at that time, so you had just bought your first property. You were working at Northwest Title. So at that point, what were some of your goals at that time? Did you have a goal of having scaling up, your work in the title company industry, or was it more so like, oh, I just got this first rental, I'm getting so much cash flow, I want to go and double down on this? What were some of your goals then?
I think actually my first goal was thinking I would love to buy one house a year.
Okay.
And I think I wanted to just slowly build that way because I didn't mind. I work full time. I go over in the weekends. I go over in the evenings. I turn a radio on. I start painting and cleaning and whatever it took. I remember that first house. My daughter was in high school, I think. Yeah, I think it was high school because I would pay for friends to come over and help peel wallpaper.
Oh.
Because this particular duplex over in North Lakewood had wallpaper on the walls and on the ceiling.
Okay.
They have been painted 4 or 5 times after that, so it was good stuff. But I wanted to get all up so I could start fresh, and I paid these kids, $6 an hour, whatever it was, pizza and all these guys, and they peel until we got it all on. So it was a lot of fun. My daughter loved it. She loved having her friends over. Of course, they turn the music down and go to town scraping.
Yeah.
Labor.
Yeah. I love it. Awesome. So really it was just, since you're working full time, you just got introduced, fully into the business of owning rentals, and your goal at that time was just buying one house a year. Did you stick with that, or did that change frequently?
It's funny because after I purchased it, I think I bought my first business. I mean, I got into my first title business, which I started in Metropolitan Title in 2000. And so I think after I got into the title business, of course, I was great friends with a lot of real estate investors, and that was really good for my title business. Because believe it or not, like 2007, 2008, 2009 came when the real estate market took a dive. My business succeeded because I had so many investors that used my title. I'm involved in multiple different ways. I've been involved with the state organization, which is OREA. I was involved with the national OREA. I was actually president of OREA for 5 years. So you get to network with people, you get to know what they do. You learn to talk and the network. It's the best thing you can do because of the fact that you pick up leads from people who do work.
Yeah.
So I have a furnace that goes bad. I go to my phone, I look up my investors, I start making phone calls. Who did you use for your furnaces? Who did you use to clean? Who did you use to clean our houses? Who did you use for trash? And to me, the most valuable part of real estate investing is your cell phone.
100%.
All your connection.
100%.
I'm not sure if that answered your question.
Oh no, that was great. That was a great answer. I mean, I think it was a very holistic way to answer it, and I 100% agree with you. I mean, networking is really the reason why I even wanted to start the podcast, right? Because I know there's so many stories out there, so much experience out there, so much information for people to gain, and for me to learn and to share as well. And I thought that, man, to have all this information out there and to not have a platform where it can be,
Are you still there?
yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
It froze.
Oh no, it's all right. I was gonna say, I mean, with all the information out there, with it just is in our local space for it to not be shared on a platform, I think is criminal. I mean, I think it's great to have this just for a networking opportunity.
The funniest thing about investors is they're very private with their connections.
Yes.
I think so many people I would call, and because I knew their title work and I have a different relationship with a lot of people, they're like,
Hmm.
well, I'm going to give you the name, but I don't want you to share it.
Right.
When you talk to the people that do the work, they want more business too.
Hmm.
So I've sometimes called my connection and said, hey, do you mind if I share so and so with somebody else? And they say, okay. So I respect it, but I
Yeah.
also want to be able to share some of the people I use.
Right.
There's a guy by the name of Chris who does pretty much all my work. When something goes wrong, I call Chris. He goes over and fixes it.
Hmm.
He only works for three different investors. So when things get slow, I do refer a couple others that he will do just a job or two for to keep himself going.
Right.
But he was referred to me by an investor who got out of the business. He
Hmm.
called me one day and he said, Don, I know you got, 15, 20 properties, and at the time I did. He said, I'd like to keep Chris busy because I'm going to be getting out of this stuff. Could you use him? I said, absolutely.
Hmm.
So Chris, to this day, I always say when Chris retires, and he actually was a couple of years older than me, when he decides to retire, I'm selling my property.
Really.
Yeah, because he really does great work. He's like a master carpenter. He's replaced kitchens, he's replaced roofs, he's done windows, he's done flooring, he's done bathrooms, he's done everything.
Wow. Wow.
He likes to work by himself. He works fast, and he's good at it. So,
But one thing that you said, I want to shed light on, and it's the fact that you still wanted to give the opportunity to at least have him be referred to other people and for him to get more work. What I've noticed from people that I've had on the show, and something that is looks like it's similar with you as well, is that the you guys operate on a plane of abundance. Like there's more than one contractor out there. There's more than one deal out there. There's so much to go to be shared with everybody else. It feels almost wrong to not have them be shared with everybody else, whether that be a contractor, whether that be a title company, whether that be
right.
a deal, a hard money lender, or just information in general, right? The people that I brought on the show that I've seen be successful in the in the business always have that sense of abundance, not just not just in the basic sense of just financial, but also just with their information and what they're willing to share in general. So that's something that I wanted to highlight as well.
And truthfully, when you really good supplier and a good vendor who takes care of you, you definitely want to share them because you want them to be successful.
Absolutely.
I know that there's some first I want to share him because I know he's busy and he has his 3 or 4 people, and I have referred him on occasion only because I was slow. And he only answers phone calls if he doesn't recognize the name.
Oh,
So, but I mean, those kind of guys you kind of have to keep private to a certain degree. Like,
sure.
if you have good vendors like garage door people or window people, you want to share them.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I have my contractor that does the work on my flips. I recently just had him even come to my parents' house and have them do their living room, do their floors, do their basement, all that stuff. And I actually just referred him over to another friend of mine who's going to be having them basically just do a total renovation of their bathrooms and just small stuff. Like, whenever somebody asks me for a contractor, I refer him over.
It's interesting because when you think about it, and when you discuss with other investors, real estate investors are probably the largest employers in the city. If we had a business, if we were all together in a business, think
Yeah,
of who we hire on a daily basis.
yeah.
Carpet people, window people, roof people, landscapers, the amount of people we hire, painters, carpet cleaners,
Hmm.
everything you can imagine.
Hmm.
If you grouped all the investors together, we are probably the largest employer in the city.
And I heard a statistic, and I'm not sure about the exact number, but I'm going to give a range here that for every one real estate transaction, 25 to 30 people get paid on it. Whether that's number one, yeah, whether it's the investor, the title company, title officer, the contractors, their subcontractors, it's about 25 to 30 people that get paid just on one single transaction, it's crazy to think about. So let's talk about Greater Metropolitan Title Company. So you founded it in 2000. I haven't had the opportunity ever to talk with somebody about how they started a title company. So I am all ears. How does starting a title business, how does that look like, and how did you start in 2000 and scale it to where it is today?
I can tell you I love it because I started at Northwest Title in 1992.
Hmm.
I worked my way up from the salesman to the vice president of marketing and sales at Northwest Title.
Hmm.
Northwest Title was bought out by Chicago Title. Now, at the time I was vice president, and there was four of us as vice presidents, we were called into a meeting and told that the company sold the day before. No clue. We didn't realize it. The Chicago Title came in and bought that company.
Hmm.
So we were in this meeting. We said, well, what does this mean for us? Are we losing our jobs? They said, we don't know. We got our money. We got to Chicago Title. 4 months later, we had got a letter that says that we were going to be retained as vice president. But in the meantime, four of us got together and said, what are we going to do? And we started looking to opening our own company. So Dick Hayes, who was the attorney, we had called him really, we called him Stuart Title, who was an underwriter at Chicago Title.
Hmm.
They flew in from Texas and talked to the four of us at the time. Basically, he came back and said, the problem is to start a new title company, you guys have 4 paid salaries. It's going to be very difficult. We called Old Republic Title, and they flew in from wherever they were from. I don't remember. They came back and said, the problem is you're too top heavy, just like what Stuart Title said. They said, we want to refer you to a company out in Michigan called Metropolitan Title. A guy by the name of Ken Lingenfelter owns about 160 title offices in about 7 different states. And he's never been involved in Toledo. I mean, in Ohio. He's always wanted to be in Ohio. But he thought Ohio was a very difficult state. So we called Ken Lingenfelter and said, hey, in any chance would you be interested in talking to us? He said, how soon? We said, Friday morning at 6 o'clock in the morning because we all had to be back to work at 8.
Hmm.
He said, absolutely. So we went out to Monroe, Michigan, and met him at one of his offices. And And he said, I'm going to do this. So he became our major, or he was 70% owner. I was 10%. Joe Marie Roth was 10%, and Tim Olin was 10%.
Mm-hmm.
But he supplied everything for us. He brought us office furniture, he brought us computers, he brought us desks, he brought us everything to open our doors.
Mm-hmm.
So that was extremely helpful. 2 years later, we were getting ready to meet with him for a lunch at Christmas time. So we actually got an all gift form was going to take it home. He sends his CFO down and tells us he sold the company to First American Title the week before. And like, oh my gosh, this just happened to us again.
Uh-huh.
Why does it impress? But you're now partners with First American National Title. So this is a long story, but 2 years later after that, they came to us and said, well, we own Midland Title, we own First American Title in Toledo, and we own you guys, and you guys are the smaller of the three. We want to close you and merge you in with the others. We said, no, they have different philosophies about their business. We don't want to merge. How about if we buy you? So we bought out their 70% share for $1. With an exclusive that we had to underwrite for First American for, they wanted 5 years. We negotiated that down to 2 years. So we had to write all our policies on First American. So after that, now there were three partners, myself, Joe Marie, and, well, Pam eventually said, I just want to walk away. I'm done with this. I'm having nightmares and I'm giving too much money out at closings. I wake up in a sweat. She says, I'm ready to walk away. So that Joe Marie and myself, 50%, 50-50. That's a very good situation to be in the business, 50-50. Very difficult. I actually bought out Joe's partnership, so I think in 2007, I became full owner of Greater Metro Title. Much easier to be one owner than it is to have multiple owners, but
For sure.
it's the thing is, I have basically 9 years of experience in selling to realtors, to lenders, to attorneys, to builders.
Mm-hmm.
We thought it would take forever to get business. The very first day we walked out to the government center to just kind of figure out how we're going to do searches for title. And I got a phone call and somebody said, I want to be the first person to give you an order. Boom, we were in business. It was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a big business. Money-wise, it's a great business. In 2017 is when I was approached by Fidelity National Title, who is the largest underwriter in the country. Actually, like 252 on the Fortune 500 list, so they're a very large corporation. They're the only title underwriter that's even in the Fortune 500. So they came to me and said, we are interested in buying your company. And I said, okay. Well, I was like 57 at the time. My daughter lives in Indianapolis. She has no interest in the business. So I figured this is my exit strategy. So at that point, we negotiated and I sold it.
Awesome. Awesome. Would you mind sharing the figure that you sold it for?
I forgot. It
Okay.
was
Awesome. Awesome. So in the beginning, so did you Greater Metropolitan? It sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not too familiar with the, I guess, the structure of title companies. So educate me, please. It sounds like it was essentially a franchise of of Metropolitan Title that was owned by the gentleman that owned it in Michigan, right?
yes. And quite honestly, it really was very, very much like that. We were part owners with him, and we were
Mm-hmm.
the only office of his 140 offices. partners. So I think it was different for him. What was very interesting is we found out later
Hmm.
he tried to buy Northwest Title. He was
Interesting.
in a bidding war with Northwest Title against Chicago Title. And Chicago Title ended up offering more cash than he did. So he lost out on buying Northwest Title. But he then told us it could have been better because he got all four of his, well, I should say three. That's a different story about the fourth one. Because three of us were vice presidents of Northwest Title. So he opened a brand new office for a lot less money than I would have taken him to buy Northwest Title.
Right.
The
Wow.
fourth partner I keep mentioning was an attorney by the name of, I just tell you a second ago. He said he came to us a week before, Dick Mays.
Hmm.
Dick Mays came to us about a week or two before we were ready to leave Northwest Title and told us that he did not compete.
Hmm.
That totally blew us away because he's an attorney. He should have told us that from the beginning, but he didn't.
Hmm.
So he decided to back out. Well, what was funny is about 2 or 3 years later, he then opened his own title company. So I think he got out of his non-compete.
Oh.
And then he opened up a company called American First Title.
Hmm.
But since he passed away probably 3, 4, 5 years ago, and his company closed. And it's very interesting.
Awesome. Awesome. And so you had gotten full ownership of Metropolitan Title. You said around 2007, right?
Yes.
Okay, so as you being full owner, and I kind of want to relate this a little bit if you can. I know it's really hard to between like managing a portfolio of rentals versus a title company, or I guess managing real estate as opposed to managing businesses. Let's just give it a broader example. What do you think what do you think are the similarities? What are some of the differences and the key takeaways that you've gotten from managing businesses, whether that be business lessons, mindset lessons? Because I understand, from having from working and scaling yourself up within a title company to then having partners and then going on your own, as it's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of different trajectories. So as far as when you were the sole owner of Metro Title, what did it look like to take that to get it to where it was when you sold it, and what were some of the best lessons that you learned from
I think
owning
by
it at that
far the
time?
number one lesson of any business owner is to hire people that you work well with.
Hmm.
I cannot praise my staff enough because there were people in my office. Gary, I'm sure you worked with Gary on some
Yes, many
projects.
times. Many times.
I tell people Gary was my right arm. I could not have done it without Gary. She is just fantastic. My sales reps were fantastic. Um, we did things outside of business. We had fun.
Right.
One of my goals is I like to take vacations, and I go on real estate investor vacations. And my goal was to take all of my employees at one time or another with me on one of those vacations, and probably 6 or 7 of them eventually got to go on vacation with us. So, I mean, we were a big family, and I think that is the key to having successful business is to make sure you take care of your people, um, which is so different than working for a big corporation. It's
Definitely.
a corporation that's all about, the stockholders. Making the stockholders happy, make sure they're getting dividends. If the numbers are down, you've got to get rid of people. And it just, you don't do that when you're self-employed. You take less money yourself and keep your employees. So I
Hmm.
think that's the major factor. relates to real estate investing. I think both of them, once you're in it for a while, you develop a system that I think time takes care of. And in my business, one of my best purchases was a guy called me from Miami, Florida, and said, Don, I need to order title work for 10 of my properties.
Mm-hmm.
He started listing the 10 properties, and they were all in the same area that I like, which is the library district.
Yes.
Over Savannah, Jackson, and Lewis. I'm like, oh boy. I said, why are you? I said, first of all, how did you think to call me? He said, Don, you did all my closings when I bought them. I said, oh goodness, sorry, I didn't remember his name. But he bought them individually over a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And we do 2,000 transactions a year, so I don't remember everybody that comes through the door. But I said, well, thank you for calling me. And I said, when he started listing the properties, I'm like, oh man, I wish you would have told me you were going to sell these. I said, because I like to buy real estate. So he said, well, I didn't know that. And there's no way he would have known it. But I said, well, thanks for the orders, blah, blah, blah. 2 weeks later, he calls me back and says, Don, this deal fell through, cancel my orders. I said, okay, I'm sorry to hear that. I said, I knew what his asking price was. So I said, I tell you what, I'll buy them. He said, seriously? I said, yeah, I'll give you the same price, which was $275,000 for 10 properties. Thinking them $27,000 a piece.
Wow.
27.5. Believe it or not, all of them were rented for more than any of mine that were.
Wow.
So I was just a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
I had a commercial loan already with, I think, Genoa Bank. I called Genoa Bank and I said, hey, I'm like within $50,000 of paying off this loan. I said, is there any way that I could, it's an open-end mortgage, could I borrow again? I said, absolutely. So what's so funny is I just reborrowed the amount that I had currently borrowed before, even though it's almost paid off. I borrowed another $270,000. My payment went back to about the same price that I was paying.
Mm-hmm.
And I picked up almost $9,500 a month in income. So it was absolutely a no-brainer.
And so why was that guy selling it in the first place?
You could not find a good property manager in Toledo.
Oh, okay.
Which is a big problem here. It is very tough to find property managers.
Mm-hmm.
So, and believe me, property management is a very difficult position to be in because the tenants are never happy and the owners are never happy. And you're in the middle trying to manage both and keep both happy. So,
right.
But anyway, so that was my best purchase. And that year I bought 14 houses altogether.
Wow.
So that was a big year for me.
That's amazing. That is a killer deal. I mean, you're buying it for...
I think that was 2014 or 15.
So the amount that you bought them for, each a piece is what they were generating in income per year. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
The funny thing is, I told you I paid off my house. I live on Corey. I paid my house off and borrowed money on my properties, and they only used part of them.
Mm-hmm.
The appraisals came back. Most of them were close to 100. Some were 120. Some were 140.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, holy crap, I bought these for 27.
Oh my god. Oh my gosh.
That was a steal.
Yeah. That is an incredible deal. The perks of owning a title company. That right there, guys. That is it. So in regards to an actual transaction in a title company, I know you've thrown out a couple words so far. You mentioned underwriters. You mentioned title work, stuff like that. For somebody that's new to understanding a title company, or maybe they're new investors, wholesalers, realtors, whatever the case may be, how would you explain to them, as somebody that has owned a title company and does say 2,000 transactions a year, explain the process of once a property is under contract, it's sent to your title company. What happens from then to the closing table?
First of all, never, ever, ever buy a house without title insurance.
Yep.
I get 2 or 3 phone calls a year from people that say, I got a quick deed property, and I didn't buy insurance. How can you help me? Good luck.
Yeah.
There's like people that just say, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. You're stuck. Title insurance is an insurance, and it is the only insurance that works backwards. It doesn't insure you from the day you buy forward. It insures you from the day you buy it for anything that happened in the past, up until the day of closing. So if you took a quick claim deed from somebody and gave them a check for $5,000 and bought their house, can you get a letter from the IRS that says, by the way, there is a $35,000 federal tax lien? Because how yours? Because you took the quick claim deed, you recorded it with your property, and that tax lien attaches to the property.
Yep.
Keep in mind that a lien attaches to the property. It doesn't matter if there's a house on it or not. The house means nothing. It's the legal description of a piece of property that a lien attaches to. So never, ever, ever buy a property with a quick claim deed unless you do a title search first. And you can always order a title search and have a company do a search for you and pay for it. But that is the only way that I would recommend ever buying a property by a quick claim deed. Besides that, a normal transaction, we get an order for a piece of property. You decide to buy a piece of property and call and say, hey, I'd like to order the title work on this and do the closing. So we go back 60 years and look at every transfer for 60 years and make sure there's nothing attached to that property, liens or judgment liens or divorces. And once that's done, we say, okay, we're ready to commit to this property, and you get a commitment for title. And that literally tells you what has to be done in order for us to close the property. And if there is a tax lien, it has to be paid off. If there is a first mortgage, it has to be paid off. Believe it or not, I heard a girl. The Girl Scouts of America sued these people for $875 because they never paid their cookie.
No way. Oh my God.
And we had a check payable to the Girl Scouts of America for $875 because that was in the title.
Oh my gosh.
So we do make sure that you buy a house and you get free and clear title. Because otherwise we would have a claim. Now, do we have claims on occasion? There could be unrecorded mortgages, which we insure for, even though we don't know it's there. But somebody could come back and say, hey, I see you guys closed a house last month. Well, I have a $30,000 mortgage that was never recorded. Guess who pays a lot? The title company. So they're out of the picture, but then we go back after the seller to get the money. That's what the underwriters do, but not the insurance, not us. If we have a claim, we go to our underwriter and say, hey, we've got a claim. You have your attorneys take care of it, and they get the money back.
Gotcha. So with most title companies, and correct me if I'm wrong, the underwriting is outsourced to a third party, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Now, in Toledo, they're pretty much all represented. The largest being Fidelity National Title. There's a company called Chicago Title, but believe it or not, Fidelity owns Chicago Title. So it's like any other business, like a green bean company. They put green beans in 5 different companies. Yeah, it's the same thing.
Right.
Toledo by far is the largest. First American is second. Old Republic is third. Stewart Title is fourth. And then it goes on smaller ones after that. Those are the top four.
Gotcha. Underwriters, you mean?
Underwriters.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And so then,
The local companies are brokers.
okay.
Toledo Title, for example, is a broker for First American and Fidelity and Chicago and Stewart. I think I write on all those people.
Hmm.
I used to write on First American and Old Republic in Chicago.
Hmm.
But now I'm owned by Fidelity, so that's a direct operation. That's not an agency. It's a direct operation.
Mm-hmm. And so then the title offices or the title companies, their main, I guess, business model, their main I guess objective is to insure title, is to give title insurance. Then got you.
It's like any business. You go to State Farm Insurance and you go to your State Farm agency here in Toledo.
Mm-hmm.
You get insurance. But they use State Farm as their underwriter. So if there's ever a claim, the underwriter takes care of the claim, not the local agent.
Understood. Okay. And so with managing or closing 2,000 transactions a year, I'm sure you come across a lot of different types of investors and home buyers. If you can kind of explain, the people that you see that do a lot of transactions, like multiple transactions a month, they have an operation that's buying properties. How do you see the successful investors managing their transactions in their communication with title? Because that's what I've seen has been it's a bottleneck that we're trying to solve, and then also that I've seen with other companies that I've worked with, either me trying to sell them a deal or they're trying to sell me a deal or whatever the case may be. Sometimes that communication, that transaction coordination is a bottleneck for a lot of investors. How, if you can expand on or talk about that, what you see the best guys doing?
Managing your properties.
More so managing the transaction. Like once a contract is with you guys, do you have anything do you have any insight on that?
Title companies are funny, and basically, once you've placed your order for title work, it takes anywhere from 3 to 5 days for the title work to
Right.
get searched. Because there are literally people that go downtown and look through a whole book.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've got to go back 60 years, it's not all computerized. So you got to go back
Right.
and look through all books to make sure everything's done right.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing worse than getting a claim, because usually the people involved with the search they don't get penalized, but they probably did look at it different if they got a claim.
Sure.
So I think you got to wait the 3 to 5 days to get your title search done. Make sure you read your title work when it comes out, because it tells you what has to be done in order for the title company to insure the property. And like I already said, you got to pay off the liens, you got to pay any back taxes, you got to pay off mortgages, whether there's 1, 2, or 3 mortgages on the property. You got to make sure that's done.
Mm-hmm.
Friends with somebody at the title company that, and this is going to be really bad, but I know from a fact that some of the people in the title company have a better relationship with people that work with them. And know that the goal of the title company, we don't get paid until something closes.
Right.
I've heard so many times we've held up the deal because we feel that it closed. Believe me, we want to close it as quick as you do, because we have to get paid for any work we've done until it closes.
Mm-hmm.
Make a contact at the title company that you can go to if there's an issue. Like me, for example, that you could always call me and say, hey, I ordered this 2 weeks ago. What's going on? I don't understand what's taking so long. I looked into it, found out there's a lien, maybe Ohio State lien. Ohio State, even though it's on the button, may take 2 to 3 to 4 weeks to send us a payoff. It's like, really?
Yeah.
Probably just click your computer and print out a copy of the bill and email it to it. How hard is that? Just make a friend with somebody at the title company that you use that you can always just call and say, hey, I'm just checking. We thought this would be done a week ago. Why isn't it? Can you check into it? Ask me. And know that they're going to be honest with you because we aren't going to have this. We wanted to close. And I do say read your title work so you kind of know ahead of time what's going to be in there.
Absolutely. And just on that note, guys, I've personally worked with Greater Metropolitan Title for, I don't know, the last 4 years now, and everything in regards to, customer service, getting transactions done, being on top of transactions with you. I mean, they are top notch. So Don has an amazing staff over at Greater Metropolitan, and I would highly recommend them.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. And so I want to also talk to you about the PIN group, so the Property Investors Network meet up here as well. You mind talking about that as well?
Oh, PIN is represents its initials are Property Investors Network.
Mm-hmm.
We started this, I think it's 6 or 7 years ago. A group of us were going to the real estate investors group in Toledo. We left and started our own group. We originally meant it to be more advanced. It really has not worked out that way. It pretty much is more of any investors interested in networking with people. It's a great group. One of the first things we did, believe it or not, with the PIN group, and we were small at the time, is we raised $35,000 to sue the city of Toledo over the lead-based paint issue.
Hmm.
So that was 16. So how many years is that? 10 years. So 8 years ago, we started the group. And so the first thing we did was sue the city of Toledo. So right off the bat, we had a mark against us.
Mm-hmm.
We won our lawsuit until they appealed it. The appeal, because our attorney is Andrew Miley, his wife is also went to, what's it called, the appeals court. Andrew Miley's wife is an appeals court judge in Lucas County. So our case could not be tried here in Lucas County. So we went to Dayton. And Dayton came back and said, well, we believe part of your case and we don't believe part of your case. That took about 4 years. In the meantime, the city of Toledo created second legislation. They said, oh, we'll forget that stuff from the first one. We'll just recreate a new one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, believe it or not, we slapped a second lawsuit. We had to raise $25,000 this time. We did it. And we slapped a second lawsuit, which is, there is no legislation because if you look at the legislation, and this is another thing, when you walk into my office, the first person you're going to meet at the front desk is Charmy.
Yep.
Charmy Strong.
Yep.
The lawsuit is Charmy Strong versus City of Toledo. Charmy bought the first duplex that I bought, we talked about. I paid $50,000 for it. I sold that duplex to Charmy.
Oh wow.
She moved into it as one of my renters. And then eventually told me she wanted to start buying real estate instead of making some money. I said, well, why don't you buy the duplex you're in? So she bought it for me, land contract. And so she has now a landlord because she rents out the second floor. So Her attorney said they needed a specific kind of person, so I asked Charmy if she would be interested, and she said absolutely. So if you come and close at my office for an investment property, make sure you thank Charmy for stepping in
Yeah.
that to be our
I'll be there
name in
this
the lawsuit.
I'll be there this week. I'll make sure to tell her about that story.
Yeah, she's
That's
great. She's
awesome.
been in
That's
the
awesome.
paper several times, and she likes it.
Wow. That's incredible.
But anyway, they meet every first Tuesday night of every month. They meet over at the park on Central Avenue, Wildwood Park.
Hmm.
It's the first exit before you get to the light entrance to the park, and it's called the something. It's a white building that's, as soon as you turn in, it's straight ahead. Can't think of the name of the building.
I'm trying to remember with you as well. Is there an entrance to on Quarry Road as well?
I think that's an exit. They only let
It's
you
an
go
exit.
out that way as an exit, but I mean, if
Oh,
you literally came in backwards, you would be right there too.
okay.
But the something center.
I'll put it in the description. That way people can know where to
Okay.
find it.
Okay.
And
I just had my notice the other day, and I'm trying to think what the speaker is. That would be the first Tuesday in March. But Richard Glesser is the president. He's doing a good job. And I went last month, and when Jim Moody spoke,
yes.
Jim Moody is very, he's awesome. He's an awesome speaker, and he's been doing real estate investing for years and years.
Hmm.
And I went to his meeting, and I enjoyed it. I missed last month because we were out of town on a cruise. This month, February's meeting was last week, and I just got back from a cruise. But I think there was 40 or 45 people at the meeting I was with in January, so
Hmm.
it's a big
Yeah,
group of people.
absolutely. And Jim was actually the first guest on the podcast, believe it or not.
I like Jim. He's a friend
Yeah.
of mine. He's used me for his business. He's doing about 70 deals a year.
Hmm. Yeah.
He
Does a lot. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So for people that aren't familiar, maybe people that are just getting started, maybe people that are just looking to invest in the Toledo market, why were you raising money for the lead-based paint clause back then? What was the commotion about? What made you guys want to do that?
Well, first of all, the lead-based paint is a legislation that the city of Toledo has. It's only for 1 to 4 family landlords. You literally had to register your property, which at the time they were saying would cost you $45.
Hmm.
And you had to hire an inspector to come to your house, which would be anywhere from $200 to $300. Then you had to pay for the spike test, which was $30 a piece, and they wanted 15 of them. And literally, these inspectors would come, they would open a kit, they put on gloves, they take this thing out, and they go over to your windowsill, they swipe it, they stick it in a container, close it, take off their gloves, and then go to number 2. And then they put new gloves on, they get out the swipe, they go to a different place in your house and swipe it, stick it in a container, close it. That's why it was $30 per test. And then send them away, and then you come back and he has lead in your house. Then you have to do the work to get rid of it. Well, why is it only 1 to 4 families? Why isn't it everybody's house? If it's so dangerous and so bad for children, why isn't it apartment buildings? Why isn't it hospitals? Why isn't it school buildings?
Hmm.
Why is it just landlords of 1 to 4 families? First of all, my whole thinking on this thing was if everybody had to do it, that would be equal, and I wouldn't have ever fought this. But again, I looked at one of my houses on North Lockwood, which I had new siding, roof, new bathrooms, new kitchens, fully painted top to bottom, full of demons. The house next to me was privately owned, healing from top to bottom. They didn't have to worry about lead. I did. And those chips of paint were falling to the ground and blowing into my yard. So I got lead. The other problem is these $30 tests, if they tested a windowsill, the minute I open that window, lead paint can come in through the air and be on my windowsill a second after they tested it. So how did that help save a child? Or how is that helping any situation?
Yeah.
There was an article in the Blade that said real estate investors hate children. What are you talking about? I've got a child, I've got a grandchild. I don't want to do anything to hurt them. But I clean my windowsills, and I take care of my properties. If they're feeling pain, I'm going to paint the room.
Mm-hmm.
And quite honestly, I bought houses that people have lived in for 30, 40, 50 years. You take a picture off the wall, there's an outline of where the picture was from being there for so many years. If a person moves out of one of my rentals, what's the first thing I do? I paint the whole place. So I think directors' houses are painted more and more and more than anybody that's lived in a house for 30 years. So we just thought it was unfair. We thought that was part of our case. The attorney, Andrew Miley, who is great, he's also the same attorney that got rid of the red light cameras on the corners of Toledo. Those are all gone now. The speeding cameras, those are all gone. That's because of the same attorney we're using for this lead law. He's a constitutional law attorney. So his whole opinion is this is not constitutional. And that's why we're fighting it.
Awesome. And you said that has it been resolved yet or not yet?
No.
Oh.
We lost our case again the second time.
Okay.
But guess what? It's going back to appeals.
Okay.
And this is what our attorney wanted. He said he doesn't want to fight it locally. He wants to fight it at appeals. Because we're more apt to make waves if we can get the appeals court. And like I said, he is a constitutional lawyer. He said there's no reason we lost it in the first place. We should have never lost it. So that's why it's back to appeals. Understood. And just to touch, and then the whole loan comes into effect, and we're all going to have to spend, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 per unit in order to make sure there's no.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, it sounds like it's not the most efficient way that the city is trying to is solving the issue, and it almost sounds like it's not trying to solve the issue when you really look at the details and the facts that you explained.
And what's interesting, the whole thing came up by these council people like Larry Sykes and 3 or 4 of these who all have been kicked out because of taking bribe money. Those council people are all out of council. They were all the ones that were backing this.
Interesting. And just to go back to the PIN group, one of the first meetups that I actually ever went to, actually my first meetup I ever went to was a PIN meetup. It was like right during, it was the summer of 2020, so like kind of around COVID time, and the first thing that we did was do a ride along to, I think, like 4 houses. I don't know if they were owned already by landlords that were within the organization, or if they were like going to sheriff's sale. Is that still a thing that you guys do, or like other than just the meetups? I know there's a couple other things that you guys do. Do you mind sharing about that as well?
Yeah, that's one of my favorites too. Is we all get cars and we caravan into a house and we go through it and we talk about things. One thing I learned very specifically in those kind of meetings is how important eavesdrops are to houses.
Oh yeah.
You went to a house, finds a kink in the eavesdrop, and of course you could tell the water was coming over. The guy goes, "Come with me." We all go marching in the house, looking around, go to the basement, and right exactly where that eavesdrop was mildew walls. Never dawned on me how important eavesdrops are to a house until I saw it. But he rightfully said the eavesdrops are one of the most important things in a house to keep the water away from your house.
Absolutely.
Anyway, we've done those kind of things. We try to coordinate and go to the Ohio WIA convention, which is usually in November.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times there's 6, 8, 10, 12 of us that will go, which you hear speakers from all over the country talk about real estate. Tends to be a little bit of a sales fest because these speakers will sell their books and their tapes and their CDs and all that kind of stuff. Again, it's all about networking. You get to, there's a trade fair there, there are all these lenders and lending companies and video companies. You get to talk to other people at the trade fair. It's a great show. It lasts usually about 3 days. That's through the Ohio WIA, which is, that's a great association. And Ohio WIA is mostly about legislative, but it's state legislation laws. We're notified if there is any law that comes up that has to do with landlords or tenants or any of that kind of stuff. We're notified right away, so we can fight it if we need to. But the other things, I know that I don't go to their breakfast because I gotta go to work. But they have a breakfast once a month. They also have a Friday night meetup, which is a social event that they all just get together and network. Yeah, it's fun shit. If you haven't come to a meeting, you should come to a meeting and just introduce yourself. Be able to talk to people and find out what others do.
Absolutely. Yeah, guys, it's a great meetup. It was one of the first ones that I went to, and it's definitely one of my favorites here in the city. So I asked you this question in the beginning. I want to ask you with a different take now. I asked you in the beginning what were some of your goals you had in the beginning of your journey. Now, with you having, you built a rental portfolio, you've built and sold a title company. Don, today, what are some of your goals that you have? Whether it could be business wise, it could be maybe personal, whatever the case may be. What are you working on today?
I'm always looking for real estate. It's a little bit tougher. I was in the era of anything under 50,000. Most of my duplexes I paid less than 50. Now they came for less than 120. And so it's harder for me to buy because I'm used to the lower number.
Sure.
And I'm always looking. I'm also trying to figure out a exit strategy for what I should do with my properties because I'm retirement age. I'm 63. My daughter who lives in Indianapolis is now wanting me to sell my properties because it's way more coming out on a monthly basis. And it's really good money. Could I sell my properties and buy a house in Florida and maybe Indy too? Yes. That's a consideration. I live in an old house on 40 Road. I'm trying to buy my neighbor's 2 lots, and I'd like to build a subdivision.
Oh, okay.
It's something I'm considering. It's kind of a whole thing to here right now. And also the fact that I'm 63, I do like my company paying for my health insurance. So
Sure.
I just didn't think about me paying my own health insurance. It drives me crazy. So I'm kind of at my position for a while. I'm also pushing with the title business commercial sales. I really would like to get more commercial business for the title. So
Hmm.
I have all things in the
I love it. Out of curiosity, where's that subdivision going to be on Quarry Road? Like what
it's
part of Quarry Road?
it's Katie Holmes, well, where her house was in Ori.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yes.
There's where houses down for that.
Okay.
It's it's not a done deal at this point.
Right.
So it's
I
something
grew
I'm
up around there. I grew up around there, so it's interesting to
the
know like where that
Arboretum.
subdivision is going to be.
Yeah, where the Arboretum is.
Yes.
That, that's in Sylvania and Whiteford and Ori.
Mm-hmm.
It's I live across the street from the Arboretum.
Ah, understood. Okay, gotcha.
And I stay way back down.
Okay, gotcha. Oh, that's okay. Nice. Okay, nice. Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, Don, it's been an amazing time here to have you on and to get to know more about your journey. I've always seen you at the meetups, seen you at the Pin Expos, and seen you at your title company, and
Mm-hmm.
it's great to really learn and understand what how your journey was and what got you here. So before we end the show, is there any finishing thoughts or notes you wanna leave off with?
I think we talked about this at the very beginning, and I love the fact that you're young. I love the fact that there are people out there. Don't be afraid to jump into it. Before I bought my first duplex, the rental I talked about, I bought a flip. I knew I was going to just fix it and flip it.
Mm-hmm.
I spent a lot of money. I flipped it. I think I ended up with tools. And I bought tools to fix things. And I think at the end, after it was all said and done, I didn't have tools. That's all I made on the project. But it broke the ice for me to do other things. So don't be afraid, even if you may lose money on the first deal,
Mm-hmm.
you've got to break the ice and get into it.
Awesome.
I talk to people about it and use people's resources for content. That's a key.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Just network and don't be afraid to get started.
That's right. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Ask people. Just
No.
and say, hey, how would you do this? Or how would you back this? Do you see money in it? I mean, just
Yeah.
and this is a great resource. What you're doing is a great resource for people here.
Absolutely. And to talk and just one comment on that. When I first went to your pin meetup when we were doing the ride alongs to all these properties, it was the first time me really seeing like properties, investors looking at properties and determining what needs to be fixed up, what doesn't, and them like doing mental numbers in their head. And I was just so fascinated by it because it's what I wanted to do. I was the guy in the room that was just going around. He's asking, "Hey, like, what are you guys thinking about the basement wall, in the basement, or with this kitchen, or stuff like that?" And at the beginning, I was kind of nervous because I didn't want to sound like I was the newbie or I was the guy that was that was fresh. But it turned out I got so much value by asking those types of questions to those types of people, and they're people that I'm still connected to this day and still help me out to this day. So guys, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to be authentic, and people will feel that from you and will be more than happy to help you.
Invest in yourself. I mean, one
Hmm.
thing that I wish I would have done, and I would love to tell somebody that's working for the first time, write stuff down, develop system.
Hmm.
If you're going to paint a house white number one, two, three, always use house white number one, two, three. If
Hmm.
you're going to use American, always use them. because you may end up with extras at some point. And ultimately, you can bring it all together and use it again. Or if you have extra pay, you can use it on the next project.
Mm-hmm.
Extra programming, or any of that stuff. Just make systems that you write down and keep it local in your system.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I would have done that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Don, it was nice having you on here. And guys, this has been another episode of the Trip Podcast. I will see you guys next time.